All right, there's some people. Granny's in the house. Yeah, I know. I tried to change the stream title earlier and it just didn't stick. So I did something wrong. But that tells you what I was doing the last time I was streaming. I was trying to fix the keys because, yeah, I tried to make the original version of Bravo. The key was like super high lows, as high as you can go, much more extreme than like the average key maker, and it just didn't work. The key wouldn't go in or come out. So, but yeah, anyway, I'm a streaming noob. I just am using this platform because it is a way to generate free money for the project. So it seemed like a good idea. We'll see if it turns out that way. If it doesn't, then, you know, we'll just, I'll just stick to videos and we can vote that way. It is sort of a bad time for a lot of the world. I've had a couple of Europeans reach out already and say, you know, it's going to be 2 a.m. when you start. So like, what are the odds that I'm actually going to show up? And I don't expect anybody to get up at 2 a.m. So, we got Endo Phantom in the house, Scully, the dude abides, and he's a yo-yo apparently, and Memo random numbers. So yeah, anyway, where I want to start tonight is by trying to name the project. It looks like we don't really have a whole lot of folks in here, which is concerning to me because I don't exactly want to go from you know, like not having a name to naming it with 1/110th, you know, 1/100th of the project, right? Yeah, it is, dude. It is hard to work with everyone around the world. I tried to figure it out years ago when I launched Alpha. I was like, you know, what's a good launch time that will actually be functional for everyone in the world? And the reality is there isn't one. About the closest you can get is like noon. What was it? It was noon Pacific time, I think. So that would be different everywhere else, but I don't think, I just don't think that there is a time where you can do something like this live and it's gonna reach everyone. So a couple of thoughts I've considered is just sort of, if there's future iterations, moving it to where Australia is the primary time, or Europe is the primary time, or America is the primary time. So let's see. Like my day-night rhythm is messed up. It's currently 3 a.m. Okay, so you're one of the Europeans. I'm taking it. Stemia says, how about the ones here? Narrow the list, and then you put the narrowed list on your site for a vote. Yeah, that's actually a really good idea. If we stay as a small crew, then we could do exactly that. Baskman69 said I had to create an account. Yeah. I actually don't know how many people use Twitch, but I could tell you based off of my YouTube demographic, there's a real small chance that the majority of you use Twitch. The majority of people that are on the YouTube channel are using Twitch just because it's heavily right around my personal demographic. And then the next largest group is actually older than me. So Axel Panic says, I haven't used Twitch since 2019. You mind me asking what you watched back then? Which channel you were watching? What's up, Lost Diver? Just typed in for the Discord ping. What's up, Type Regal? Type Regal has easily the most designs in this. It's not like a PowerPoint. I just have a series of pictures. Sorry for the sirens, but I'm leaving the door open for the smoke. Type Regal has submitted like, I think 4 or 5 designs now. So shout out to him for putting the work in. It's really cool. How about Granny just has veto on every vote? No, I don't think so. I don't think that's going to work. That would be fun though. You could have like rotational veto powers. Each week it's somebody else. Baskman is Baskerville. Okay, cool. Yeah, Baskerville's put in a couple of designs too. Same. All right, so yeah, let's get into it. We'll start just trying to sort of narrow this list down a little bit because it's long, and I was gonna do it myself and just say, all right, here's 6 different names, let's vote. But I figured I would at least do the people that took the time of submitting names the honor of, well, not the honor, the courtesy, we'll say, of explaining why I would roll it out. And I see 2 right off the bat that have got to go, just for the fact that this isn't supposed to be about me, right? This project's supposed to be about us. So I'm going to take out the 2 that are named after me. And if you guys see anything on this list that you just absolutely hate, tell me why. Liquor and picker is funny, but that's not nearly appropriate enough for what we're trying to do. It's like represent the whole of lockpicking with that as a phrase. Let's see. TT. Yeah, okay, so we got Project Shiny Lock and Project Shiny. I think probably only one of those should remain for the vote. So let's throw it in the chat. Which one would you rather have in the vote? Shiny or Shiny Lock? 2 a.m. crew represent. Oh, it's NKT in the house. Hey, I just wanted to take this opportunity to tell you, man, the stuff that you're posting in the Discord, the responses and the input on all the designs and answering questions is really helpful. Like I've actually learned a bunch of stuff from you already. So please keep doing that. Scully says, I vote to keep the current name, the Nameless Lock Project. Yeah, that would be the least amount of work for me, honestly. I wouldn't have to rename like every single thing, but we'll add that on as a write-in. Okay, it looks like everybody prefers Shiny over Shiny Lock, so we'll do that. And let's see what else we got here. Current name. I like No Diggity. Let's back to the backstreet. The final click seems like you're not doing anything else. Okay. We'll take that. I'll take that. And let's see, project click. Ah, there it is. I'm here for Daniel. Who XXCYP is that? Are you Reefer Sutherland or is that somebody else? Shiny. This wasn't fun. I wouldn't bother. I like the current name as well. That's 2 for Nameless Lock Project. No Diggity is good. That was Gravity Karma's submission, by the way. I think it's funny, but it's, never mind. It's actually perfect for the demographic of this. Current name is mysterious and really cool. Project Deadlock seems more appropriate for a deadbolt. You're right. It absolutely does. Quinn says Daniel is the best project name so far. What does deadlock mean? I don't know. I didn't come up with that. As a Daniel, I approve. Please name it Daniel. Okay. Let's see. I think deadlock can go because you're right. It doesn't actually make sense. What about these one words over here? Padlab. I think the person that sent Loki in meant to have it pronounced Loki and said, they always have something up their sleeve. But the problem with that is like it's spelled Lockeye and no one's going to say it right. So I'm going to just veto that. Yeah. The Lock Right project is one of mine. I like it, but I'm also, now that you guys are sort of pointing it out, I kind of do like the Nameless Lock project. And it's mostly because while it started as a placeholder, it's been the name of this thing in my mind for, I don't know, half a year or so. I've gotten used to it. I gotta quit leaving my cursor on the chat because it keeps freezing it. Daniel. Dang. Oh, Dean. I forgot about Dean. We can add Dean as a write-in. My only two issues with deadlocks sounds like a deadbolt, and there's a picker named Deadlocks. I didn't know that. Okay. That's, well, we already rolled that out, so. Padlab reminds me of Bosnian Bill. We don't want that. Keep Daniel, and also there's a low-key lock that exists already. Okay. Low-key, current name just seems to fit the best, so we narrowed it to two choices. The Nameless Lock Project and Daniel. Good job, everyone. Yeah, okay. Are there any other names? Let's actually do it that way. We'll just narrow the whole field down to, let's say, top 5. So we've got Nameless Lock Project. Nameless Lock Project. Daniel is definitely in the running. I forget what Dean stands for. Can you remind me what Dean stands for? So I'm partial to Crowd Lock Project. Can't have a second project that's also nameless. We would have issues further on. Yeah, I suppose that's true. The idea was for it to have like a unique project name so that after the first time this happens, if there is a second time, then that one received a name, you know, like, so the template is, it's nameless while we start, and then we choose something and move on. All right, Crowd Lock looks like that's good there. Crowd Lock Project. Inset, No Diggity. Seen No Diggity a couple of times. So I've got the Nameless Lock Project, Daniel, Daniel, the Crowd Lock Project, No Diggity Project, and something else. We need one more. Partial Crowd Lock, pin set. Project pin set. Okay. No Diggity is fun, but it's a little unprofessional. Yeah, it's fair. So is Daniel, but I mean, it's also funny. So it just doesn't, like, I love Daniel because it made me laugh so hard when he said it. But it's hard to justify, right? Because anybody coming in from the outside is going to have no idea what this is. Like, they won't even know it's a project, for example. Community challenge live. Wrong crowd. Well, and, you know, now that I just said that out loud, I'm hearing myself say somebody coming in from the outside. The likelihood that that's even going to happen is pretty small. I think, like, this whole thing is going to be done before anybody from the outside would even find it. So just do Project Daniel. Just a reminder. I don't know that you can consider it a challenge lock, the dude, because my definition of a challenge lock, and I think everybody else's too, is that it is a stock lock that's mass produced that you have altered in order to improve it and make it more difficult. So I don't think it's, I don't think it would count unless we did a production run, let's say, and then you modified it after the fact. Then that would make it into a challenge lock, I think. So what's up, Craig? I think keep it as Nameless Lock Project. Okay. All right, so I'm going to throw in the Lockrate project at the end here, just because I like it, and some of the others are less professional. We'll just throw those into a poll. I got to figure out how to do that. I'm pretty sure I just type /poll and then it starts doing things, but we'll see if I can pull this off. All right. Question. What should we name the project? Is it the No Diggity project or Project No Diggity? It's a No Diggity project. All right. One vote apiece. And we'll do it for 1 minute since there are actually people active in here. Start poll. Digg's all new international exciting lock project. You know, that works. I'll accept that. Who's making the lock? Yeah. I'm going to make 10 of them at least. And we'll see if there's any more after that. But the poll should be on the screen that you're watching on. There is a pop-up. Like, should be right above the chat. Maybe you're not looking at the chat. It appears as at the top of my chat. Wow. Okay. 58% of people, it's 7 people said leave it as the Nameless Lock Project. All right, then. That's easy enough. I don't have to change anything about anything. Cool. So that's the first vote. I got a bunch of stuff written down here that I'd like to run through. Most of it's not going to take that much time. So for the folks that are watching and it's 2 a.m. there, please hang out for like 10, 15, 20 minutes if you can, and we'll try and get through as much of this as possible. Let's see. First, I don't know if he jumped in here or not, but somebody just became a patron like 5 minutes before the stream. So if you're in here, Jack, thank you. And also thank you, Granny, and any of the other patrons that are in here. I'm not going to know your names just by looking in here. So unless it's the same, then I will probably recognize it. But you guys have put the project in a position now where if you actually stick with the funding for 6 months, it's half funded already in the first week. We're on day 7, and we will by the end have raised $1,500. So my estimate for this thing was $3,000, $2,000 to make the locks and like collectible boxes and stuff for them to ship in, and $1,000 for the prize. I overestimated probably on materials and tooling, but it's better to overestimate than under. And if I'm way under that, then all of that money gets shifted to the prize pool anyway. So Patreon link you can find on digbylockandtool.com. It's on the front page. But yeah, I think it's just patreon.com/digbylockandtool. Let's see. Endo Jack was base set. It wasn't rigged. I didn't even vote. And if I had, I probably would have voted for the Lockright project. So I wonder if there's a way for me to actually see the results of that poll. Because all I could see was a pop-up that had the number. But well, I'm definitely gonna have to learn how to do that. It seems important for the future. All right, let's move on to what's next here. Yeah, if you're watching this and you're gonna participate, you want to participate, and you have a Twitch Prime, you have an Amazon Prime account, and you're not subscribed to anybody on Twitch, which I'm guessing is like 90% of you because of how many people just said, I just made a Twitch account. There is a way to sign up for Twitch for free with your Amazon Prime account, and it gives the project like it's exactly $2.25 per person. So if everybody does it, then it'll buy a bunch of end mills, and that would be cool. But yeah, I'm not gonna harass people about that. I just wanted to cover it once. We've got the project name figured out and did the poll. All right, so we need a logo. So if there's anybody in the chat that actually draws or does artistic stuff, please start working on a logo. I'm probably gonna query AI a bunch of times and see if it can come up with anything that's worth doing. But I don't want to stick to that. Like I would much rather have something created by the people that are involved. You can use AI if you want to, but yeah, I don't know. I think the community, like at least LPU, is pretty split on whether or not they love or hate AI. So just keep it in mind. If you do generate something from AI and then you win, there might be some people salty about it. But frankly, I don't care either way. I just want it to be a cool logo, something that deserves to be on a shirt, and it can be part of the fundraising effort. And I just want one. I personally just want a t-shirt that's got a cool logo on it that will remind me of this 5 years from now when it's all beat up. So a couple of details on that. I'm not making a super official anything about this. So I'm telling you guys, and it starts now, and we're going to end it Wednesday at midnight. So that's the 14th. That's 5 days from now. You could probably make like 50 designs in an hour if you use AI. But like I said, I think people will appreciate it more and will probably value it and vote for it more likely if it is drawn or at least, you know, digitally created by you instead of a robot. So yeah, it starts now, ends Wednesday, the 14th at midnight. You can send your submissions to the Nameless Lock Project at gmail.com or in Discord. I think basically everyone in here knows me on Discord, so you can send it direct or in any of the servers that we share. And for the prize, I've got a set of 19 thousandths gym hooks and 19 thousandths intermediate. So you got some talk bars in here, and between the two, it's 7 picks and 19 thousandths. These are amazing picks. So enough said. I think you all know who Jimmy Longs is. That's done. All right, so padlock options. We actually have like 12 different padlocks to look at to see tonight. Where is... Oh, I got to get out of here. Mm-hmm. Back to this. I actually don't know how to get back out of this into the photo viewer that I was in. Technical difficulties. All right, let me pull this up. And get this switched over so you guys can see what I'm looking at. Where is it? Tried to set all this up ahead of time so that I could just like scroll through it real easy, but apparently editing a picture is the thing that is my Achilles tendon. Video capture. Nope, it's not that. window. There we go. All right, let's move this over here. So this is the first submission. I'm going to move it over a little bit and move this down over here. Get rid of this one. All right, so submission number 1, we're looking at padlock bodies tonight. The goal is not to choose one and say, all right, this is definitely exactly how this padlock is going to look in the end. Because 1, I couldn't promise that even if I wanted to. But 2, I want people to be able to take some stabs at the aesthetic parts of this. So while I do want to leave week 1 with, we're doing this sort of padlock and we've got it locked in, we've got a template. Later in the process, like week 4 is meant to be sort of aesthetics. Focus on what it looks like and make it really stand out as an awesome thing. So right now we're going to run through the 12 that have been submitted in the Discord server. And if we decide, hey, we don't like any of these, then we could just make a boring old padlock like all the rest of them in the world. But you guys have been creating awesome stuff. And just today I was looking at a lot of historical padlocks, and they just put so much more time and effort into the design. Like, they're truly beautiful objects. So I would like for this project to create something that's not only wicked hard to pick, but is actually fun to look at. So all that being said, right, just keep an open mind and try to look at these images with the expectation that they're going to change slightly. And we're really just aimed at which one of these would serve best as a template for an awesome design. Okay. Let me catch up on the chat here and make sure I didn't miss anything. Cases. When's the recount? We're not doing a recount. Regardless of what happens, we can always pretend like Daniel. Yep. That can be the secret name. Okay, so where in this lock would the core go? Probably down here somewhere. I would say one of the biggest limitations of this particular design is you have a shackle that's intended to not only pivot, but then slide in. There's a feature in here that is slotted, so you can see it's not lined up with this groove here. So the idea would be that when it actuates, it slides out and then swings open, which is cool. I've literally never seen anything like that. But it leaves 2 big questions in my mind, which is, how is that going to work? And will it be automated? Like, will we need to mechanize both movements, because that's more complicated than one movement? And then the other is just, because of its shape, it will be slightly annoying to machine, but not terrible, because you do have a big set of flats up here. Now, if in the design process we change that a lot and make it more asymmetrical and make it more, featured, we'll say, then it is going to be harder to hold. That being said, it's neat to me because I've never seen one like it. And it also is sort of reminiscent of a D, which is the first letter of my name, which is cool. So this is A. We're going to run through. We got A all the way through L, I think, and then we'll do a vote. So stick around if you can. Shouldn't take that long. All right, this is B. This is actually another one of Typer Eagle's designs. It's just that I catted it wrong. And so the result is sort of my design. This is not what he This is not what he wanted. You'll see what he wanted coming up here, but it wound up being so neat looking that I just wanted to put it in and see. Like, there's a couple of padlocks that do this thing where the halves split apart and then the shackle's like a solid chunk that meshes into it. I think Stealth Key did one. Somebody shared a picture of a Stealth Key one that does that. But I've never seen one do that. And while it doesn't leave as much room down here for core, let's say, it does have plenty of room for one that's focused on elements entering a round cylinder from both sides. And it's got a lot of beef down here so that we can make whatever kind of interaction we need to function. So that's B. C is what he actually was trying to get me to make. I just kind of read his drawing wrong, basically. And so you have the same sort of C-shaped shackle, but the idea is that it slides down into the body and then over into the securing point. So this actually, I think it would have some issues with strength, but it sort of matters how much you care about the overall strength of the padlock. Is the cool factor more important to you than how strong it is? Because if that's the case, then you can kind of just ignore that. The fact that it slides down in here and has a lip means there's all kinds of different easy mechanisms to latch onto that. And I think it would be very achievable. You're going to lose a similar amount of space down below, like the halfway point, for extra meat for the core. But let's see what we got. B is my favorite at this point. Hard to beat. Hey, Lockchuck just subscribe with Prime. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. C also goes hard. Don't think I'm smart enough to make any real decisions. You don't need to understand where it can go. I'm gonna try and tell you what its limitations are, especially if we have like a close vote and we need to sort of split hairs. But just know that we're aimed at a template here, right? We're aimed at, this is the sort of design that we want, because we don't know the mechanisms going into it, it's going to change, right? The shape of this is going to have to change probably. There is one later in here that I designed with such a fat core that I don't think it'll matter, and it will relatively be the same geometry. But for most of these, like one of the things he pointed out, Type Regal, that designed this, is that you could add features like this and give yourself extra room. So if your core is limited in these dimensions, let's say, you can give yourself some back by adding what would look like purely aesthetic features, but they're actually functional. Actual shackle is a weak point. So anytime you have a right angle, it's going to be a stress riser. And so that is technically a weak point. It's more likely to crack. It's more likely to break under stress. That being said, this one in particular is going to be buried all the way down here and protected by whatever you're locking, and then also this bolt. So that being said, we could just put a big old fat radius right here and add meat to that, and it would become stronger. So in these designs, if you're somebody that has actually designed things before, you're going to notice that they are very unfinished. And basically the reason for that is I didn't decide to try and CAD them all for this stream until it was pretty close to stream time. 2 days ago, I started CADing all these up, and I was already working on other models. So yeah, anyway, just sort of rambling, but these are templates, right? They're not finished designs. They will be, stronger and as strong as we can make them given the template. Okay. Let's see, cool factor. Let's catch up. A plan to deviate from is what I try to pitch to people. These are all plans to deviate from. Exactly right. You nailed it. That's the best way you can say it. I keep using the word template because that's how I think, but that's a good phrase. I think it's important for any group decisions to have someone who has no idea. They're not limited by what they know works. They're willing to try more new things. Exactly. The dude nailed it. So one of the beautiful things about this project is there's plenty of people that are going to show up that don't really know anything about locks yet, that don't really have like that wealth of knowledge and experience in the different mechanisms that exist. And they're the people that, if we can convince them to, will draw the craziest stuff possible. And I think that there is value in that. I think that that entertaining some of those crazy ideas and forcing them to work is the way that you wind up with something original, because most people are going to sort of skirt around that and find these barriers in machining and what they know, and then just stop instead of saying, I like this so much, we're going to do it anyway. So let's see. Professor just subscribed to tier 1. Appreciate you. Or that could have been several minutes ago. I don't really know because there's no timestamps. Sliding shackle seems harder to machine. Sliding shackle seems harder to machine. I don't really understand what you mean by that. This geometry here on C, this C shape, this is very machinable. I would say this corner and this corner would probably be radiused or rounded, and I would probably match them to this shape, and likely the same thing down here. And so it's very square. It's more square than it would be when I was done with it, but I think the geometry itself is pretty machinable, if that's the one you're talking about anyway. That sliding shackle could be all square and laser or water cut readily. Yeah, and honestly, it could be machined too. Anyone else lose stream? Try refreshing. It's back now. Okay, good. I thought it shut down. All right, we're still on C. Let's move on to D here. So D is one of my personal favorites just for cool points. And it is a cooler looking version of a design I actually already did. I just never made it. So I think its biggest detractor is just the fact that this bolt up here doesn't have anything to hold it. So if you're yanking on it really hard, you're counting on this mechanism down here, whatever that winds up being. Because I have entertained a design exactly like this before, what I know you can do is use an exceptionally strong piece of metal to keep those two together. So you could dovetail this, you could put really any sort of key seat in it you want, and make it very strong. Like this lip doesn't have to be this shape. We can make it really beefy, and to the point where the geometry up here would limit its travel downward. Not that you need it because it's going to be stopped here anyway, but I would do that anyway. I would limit its travel downward just for the fact that if somebody's beating it on it with something, that it has support from both sides, because it's already lacking top support here. The mechanism that he showed me for, actually, I don't remember if it was this one or not. Suffice it to say, we're going to need to put something real strong in between these two. And the fit on it is going to be very important. And probably direct interaction with the mechanism too, because if it gets bound in there and we're counting on springs or some sort of automated mechanism and it's inside the lock, that's not great. That's a bad design. So, but I do really like it. I think it's neat looking. Let's see what we got on the inside of the lock. It would have to slide into something. Dovetail, spring-loaded tab. Hey, thanks for the prime. I appreciate that. On the very bottom of the lock, put an overhang that covers the bottom of the shackle sliding part. Yep, that would do it too. If you put a shelf down there at the bottom, it would keep it from being able to exit the dovetail. All right, so that's D. And I do have a picture with all of these at the end, so you can remember which one you actually liked. E was just based off of the profile of his drawing. Before I realized what he was trying to do with the shackle. These chamfers are absurd, and I kind of like them, but I also realized that it makes this lock impossible because this bolt is going to have to exit the side, one of the sides, right? That's the only way it can work. So you can't come down to a geometry that's thinner than that without creating a sharp edge and so on and so on. So, um, like external geometrical features notwithstanding, it's a pretty solid Ruko-esque design, and you've got extra meat here. And when we did the weekly voice call, I tried to express that you could add material like this all over the body by starting with a larger piece of metal, right? And you could cut it away even in patterns, and I think it would wind up looking really cool. That you could make it appear like it's been armored, like you've added plates of armor all around it. So I did not include that CAD model because it's hideous and it doesn't really sell my point. But suffice it to say that this is sort of a basic lock that has a little bit of extra room, and that's about it. This thing is, I almost didn't show you guys this one because it's actually a copy of an existing lock. It's an old padlock. It's beautiful. I've looked it up. The mechanism inside of it is wonderful and right up my alley. And it's got this, I just learned a word today, by the way. NKT taught me the word escutcheon. At least I think that's how you say it. Anyway, it's a keyhole cover that slides up, right? So in this one, while it looks like you have a typical shackle, you do not. There is actually the shackle on this side ends about right here. And then on this side, it continues down and forms one solid, really meaty plate that takes up this whole space. So the shackle is like a giant hunk of metal with a hook shape on the end. And then on the mechanism end, it's a thinner tab piece that sort of interacts with it down here, sliding up and out to open the shackle and then being pulled back in. It's really cool. And I think for this one in particular, I just need to say, like, it's not going to look like that because I don't believe in copying people's beautiful work. That being said, what we could do is something similar where we're kind of annexing geometries that are specific to their function. So you could have sort of like a tower shape like this, and yeah, and I don't know where we would go with it, but a circle's not the only shape that you can make that's usable in this case. And if we were able to sort of change elements of this enough where it was very similar but different enough, then I think I could get around being okay with it. But like I said, I really would like to land somewhere original personally. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I think original's best. And it's not about the patent. I think I want to say that the patent for this was like 1834 or something. So it seems unlikely that they're going to come sue us, but you never know. Maybe ghosts have lawyers. We got, you could easily put a cold chisel into the gap on C to force it upwards. D, but round shackle so it rotates inside. There's some good suggestions. And once we actually choose one, then I want you to fire every suggestion you've got, and then we'll really consider everything and sort of remold it slightly until we can't please everybody, but until we're majority happy with it. I tell people about discussions daily. These pipe chases aren't going to cover themselves. I used to be a cabinet installer. Skipping that one. It's like a hand buzzer gag. Shoot, which was T. I missed it. You'll see them all at the end, Professor. Some good pool part. Okay, we're moving on. Everybody's having fun with the word escutcheon. It's a fun word. All right, this is G. Who put this one in? I don't remember who put this one in off the top of my head right now. Let me look. It's not like I have to say lock idea submissions. Crispy times 2. Put this one in. So this one is kind of like a mashup between what he drew and me not fully understanding where he was going with it. This rounded portion here is different than his design. He had some sort of a sliding mechanism here that would, I think, interact with a piece here that actually interacts with the locking ball bearings that would be in a slot over here. The way I've seen this done in the past, though, is that the tail of the cylinder is rounded and has a void for the ball bearings to fall into it. And it's a very typical shape in a padlock actuator. Actually, it works, right? If the ball bearing's on this face, then it can't move, and then you can't open it. And when this is rotated, then it can move, and you can open it. So I threw that on there just for my own sanity, I guess. But this thing, it actually offers a really interesting opportunity because you have this giant stack of material up here, and you've got a rather long one here too. And maybe this padlock is oversized, right? I made almost all of them like 3.4 inches by 2.4 inches just because common material size and a little step down because you can't just make a thing out of stock at exactly the right size. It doesn't work that way. So anyway, I think that this core shape is interesting and could offer a really unique mechanism. I don't know what that would be, but it is an atypical shape and it does have a good chunk of meat. So as often as we can gain space or keep space, it leaves our options more open. The smaller we go with things and the more narrow we go with things, it takes away certain mechanisms as an option. So yeah, that's G. H is the only one in this list that was not submitted, so ignore it if you want to. I just modeled a Discus like padlock because they do have a lot of mass, right? So there's a lot of space here where we could put a large core in it. It does introduce machining challenges just for the fact that indexing it is slightly more difficult, but I can work around that. And you could, a lot of times you'll see them with flats on one side or the other. They'll flatten the top or the bottom. And I think the only reason they do that is for machining. Happy to be corrected, but I can't think of another reason you would do that. Because you're just taking material away from yourself. All right, NKT's dropping off. In the font, single spaced. Let's see. Just 50 reasons your cool lock should have a curtain. Welcome in, Phoenix. It's been several minutes, I think, since you wrote that. All right, moving on to I. I is Granny's design, and I honestly love it because one, it'll be dead easy to machine that part of it. But two, when's the last time you saw a perfectly cubed lock? I'll wait. Never, right? I've never seen one. I've seen barrel locks. I've seen just about every geometry except for like a perfect cube. And in his drawing, it's sort of suggested that this would be a hasp lock and would have a shutter style bolt that comes out of one side. Now, you can make this thing any size you want. And if you did that and you left just the bolt mechanism in the top third or top half, let's say, you've got all these faces to come in from. And so we had a brief discussion in the Discord about the potential of having multiple cores, right? Multiple cores, multiple keys coming in from different sides, making it a multiple custody lock, and having those different mechanisms be separate and while independent, they would be interdependent to unlock the thing. So I think it fits the idea of the adjustable difficulty quality extremely well. I think it does that better than anything else, actually. And it would be really fun. That being said, it's sort of up to you if you like the geometry of a cube or if you think that's boring. So I think that's all I can say on I. J is a standard drop-in shackle with shrouds, and it would make a beefy, really, really physically tough lock just off the rip. It also, as designed, would, the shackle would stop about here. So again, just over the midpoint, which would allow us to have a really large core. And right after I made this one, actually, yeah, I made this one today, but this one came from the weekly call. And the idea of this was, there's a lot of people that like the Ruko style shutter and in the vertical format like this. And if you make the padlock this big, you get a giant core, right? A giant one. Look how much meat is here, right? So finding a way to, well, you don't have to find a way. You can just drill a hole straight down through here and retain it. And in fact, we could do it on both sides since this thing is so beefy. And there's so much real estate that you could still put like an entire lever mechanism in there with other stuff. And then you'll be fine because there's so much. That being said, that was the whole point of this design. So you can take it with a grain of salt that this is better because of the meat, because we can do that to any one of these. We can make them bigger. The scale is all sort of relative to what we want. That being said, I'm not after trying to make one of those giant squires that, is like attempting to set the record for the largest padlock. I don't really want to do that. Because if we do that, then I'll be tempted to put like 15 mechanisms in it instead of 3. So let's not do that. But that's K. So this one is, Digg sent me this about an hour before the stream. He was playing around in Inventor, and this has a lot of potential. Not necessarily the strongest looking thing in the world. Like, for example, this geometry here would need to be cleaned up. But essentially what he was trying to do, and what I think this demonstrates well, the gist of it is he wants to have a more angular sort of shackle. It's more interesting than your average bent shape, right? And then the other sort of intention is to put a bunch of facets on it so that it catches light. And I do love that, because when you put facets on things, it makes a shiny thing even shinier. So it's a pretty looking thing. And I think with some time and playing around with it, we could do maybe better. I don't know if better is the right word, but we could try some different things out. And I know for me personally, having to machine it, I would probably either return this portion to flat so that I could hold it here and here in a vise, or I would try and put flats somewhere on these sides and then let the biggest surfaces have many facets so that it catches light in all kinds of ways. So this one is definitely aimed at aesthetics, and I don't think he really spent much time thinking about a core for it, but that wasn't the point. All right. So that's all of them. That's A through L, and I think I'll probably put a final entry in there if I can even put this many into a poll. I'm gonna put a final one in there that just says none of these. And if that's really how you feel, then we can also consider some more boring ones, but it'll have to get added onto a decision video instead of doing it right now. So yeah, I gotta create another poll. Catch up with what you guys been saying. Cube bigger. What if we could live in the lock? Digg would send this. Looks way fancy. Looks comfortable to hold. That was another thing he mentioned, is like being able to comfortably hold it while picking. That being said, right after that, the thought that I had was this thing is not going to be a lock that you pick in your hand. At least I hope it isn't. All right, people are starting to do rank orders. Let's do a poll here. Which padlock template should we go forward? Is there a way to add more options? I wonder if that's the limit. We might have to do this in like rounds, because it looks like I can only put 5 options into a poll. Let me make sure that's the case. If any of you are Twitch experts, let me know. Is there a way to add options? Up to a maximum of 5. All right, so we're gonna have to do it in rounds. If you look at the picture, we've got 3 rows of 4 or 4 rows of 3. I think we'll do it in 4 rounds just because it seems more fair somehow to me. So we're gonna go A versus E versus I. And we'll do 2 minutes because it seemed like people were kind of frantic trying to find the poll. So please vote on that. That's the first round. This is just the left-hand column, A versus E versus I. And the winner of that will go on to the next round. You still can't find the poll, huh? I or D and E hybrid. I or D plus E hybrid. Let's see what they're talking about here. So are you saying a cube with a side that slides up there, Raven? Talking about hybrids. Speed voting. All right, so that's a pretty clear winner. I's got 80% of the vote. So the cube block moves on into round 2. All right, next one up is B versus F versus J. I'm not sure I want to put B versus F, but I'm going to do it anyway. Let's see. Slash poll. B, F, and J. 2 minutes on the clock. There we go. B and G have a fun mechanism. Agreed. That block end shackle. You live for the way A looks. It just doesn't offer real room. Yeah, well, it's not as much room as some of these others, but again, the geometry is not locked in. So we could take that concept and maybe take away some of the U shape for the hasp chain or whatever you're locking it with, and return some of that meat back to mechanism land. Cube with the slide out shackle would be cute. Would be cool. B and F are both cool. I guess B. I don't know why the pull isn't showing up for me now. Click video and the prompt should appear. Yeah, I might have to school myself on how polls work on Twitch as a viewer, because I haven't participated in a whole lot of them. Otherwise, I might be able to like convince, explain how to use it, but I can't. For me, it's always just been at the top of the chat, and you click the button and you're in. But if you're watching without the chat, then you might miss it altogether. Oh, that's weird. So the second one just didn't show up for you, huh? Type Regal says, I got a whole row. You literally do. You're the entire front row, first row. All right. Looks like B won from that group. Next group is C, G, and K. The cube is inevitable, he says. C, G, K. I kind of like the cube. I'll be honest. Like, from a machining standpoint, it's by far and away the easiest one to do, because I can do a cube inside of a cube, and everything square is easier to mill. That being said, it's sort of, I guess the word would be unimpressive, or like, it wouldn't be visually striking like some of these would. I kind of, I've had a bunch of different hopes for the project, and they'll manifest how they manifest, one way or the other. It's not really up to me. But I would love to do something that makes people go, what is that, when they see it the first time, Cube, inevitable. Like the cube, because I've never seen one before. Reload worked. Cool. The Nameless Cube Project. Yeah, we are gonna have to name the lock too, but if it's a cube, it's pretty easy, right? You just name it the cube. Throw your best name suggestions for a cube-based lock into the chat. I'm pretty sure you can do better than the cube. Borg is probably trademarked. Just gonna step on that one right away. We could name it Daniel. The name that will never die. Even if we leave the project alone, we name the lock Daniel, and then everybody's happy, right? Rolling bones, make it look like a dice. That could be cool. It would be exceptionally cool if you could fit the mechanism interaction into the pattern of a die also. I'm thinking like wild tubular with, like, the 6 dots on one face. All right, we got a winner. That's K. K has got a lot of real estate, so I think that's probably wise. 6 on top, on bottom. All right, last round, and then we'll do the final vote. We got hole D versus H versus L. 2 minutes on the clock. I'm actually kind of torn on this one. Just, I didn't stage these in this order for this reason. And I didn't think it through, like which locks I would prefer, so I could strategically put them in different camps. I should have done that, but I'm not that clever. So I really like the way that D's shackle works, and I really like the idea of L's body, because I think you could really do something neat there. H is more standard fare, and I actually modeled that because my intention was, hey, why don't I just model one of all of the common padlocks that are out there that you see thousands of, right? But I stopped after that one because I realized we already have like 9 submissions, and the ultimate victory, I think, is we do a lock that every part of it was designed by somebody in the community. It's not like we've taken this from somebody else. Like, no part of it's been taken. And that, yeah, I don't know. I don't know that you can't ever really hit pure originality in locks because they've been around so long, and so many different genius level thinkers have put their mind to it and engineered really cool things. So no matter what, if you make a lock, you're going to be adjacent to other locks. The designs are similar in that way. So anyway, I like to aim at originality, and what I've found is, even when I aim at originality and I forget everything I know about locks and I sit down and try to break through the barrier of don't redesign what you already know, I find out after the fact, after I'm done with the design, that there is something like it. And that's just, it is what it is. So what's up, Duke? Duke Fart Knocker's in the house. He's in real life friend of mine. And we're going with D. All right. So Duke, right now we're doing rounds of voting because Twitch limits you to 5 options at a time. So we're doing the 4 column. We just finished the 4th column, and now we're going to do the final vote. So I, B, K, and D. So we got the cube versus this guy. Don't even know what to call that. Versus the biggest boy. Versus something, well, an engineering challenge. I think it's super neat, and I think we can do it. But I just don't know how yet. So those are our 4. Starting a new poll. So, poll. How? Final template selection. We got I versus B versus K versus D. This one's for all the marbles. 2 more minutes on the clock. The biggest boy. Zippo for D. Hardest vote yet. Cube is I. I and B go hard. No kidding. Me vote for I. What's happening to you, Baskerville? Is your brain shutting down? Cube. I want I and D. It might be possible, by the way. Like, we could potentially put the dovetail thing into I, but I think it's less likely to work in that geometry, actually. A lot of love for the cube. It's really interesting. I mean, I like it too. It's just, yeah, it's crushing it. 67% right now. $63. All right. While this timer runs down, I'm gonna run inside for just a quick second. I'll be right back. Cube. Which one we got? Yeah, it's the cube. Okay. All right. Well, we got our template. We are gonna base this lock around a cube shape, and it's gonna be fun. It is, because we have the option to have different mechanisms coming in from different sides and having different interplay. We have the option of having it have a sunken shutter for a hasp style lock. We could put a shackle just coming out the top. We could do the D shackle on the side of it. And we could do the B shackle coming out of one of the sides. So it is honestly the best option for universality. Like, we can do really any of the ideas that we want. But the size of the cube is going to vary based off of that. So it might wind up being a big boy too. Let's see. First one opens cube. Second one opens shackle. Yep. The loaded die. Cube could easily be dual key. The cube could easily be 5 keys. I'm not going to do that, but it could. Smaller. It opens into a smaller cube. 6 locks, one on each side. Well, you need one side for the shackle there, Professor. As long as it's tougher to open than the Hellraiser cube. I'm going to be making time cube jokes that nobody understands for the rest of this project. It'll weigh 20 pounds. Cube is the perfect shape for the sublime joy of creation in this essay. All right. Well, yeah. So cube it is. Mission accomplished. We actually locked something in, and we got our name locked in, which is great because I don't have to change anything. And now we can play with how do we make the aesthetics of the cube the best? Rounded corners, chamfered corners, stepped patterns, each with chamfers. There's a lot of cool things that we can do to make this thing awesome looking. So for those of you that are not in the Discord server, please join the Discord server if you want to talk about this, because we're literally talking about it all day, every day. And the Locksport community is global, so that chat can keep going as long as people are like chiming in. I've noticed it gets quiet for a period in between time zones, and then it sort of turns up again. But yeah, any sort of idea you've got, throw it in there, especially for people that have never done 3D modeling before. You should really consider picking it up. Fusion 360 is free, and it's not that hard to do. And because this is a cube, it's really, really not that hard to do. So I think this is going to be really fun to machine, actually. And now that I think about it, as long as we don't go crazy town on the mechanisms, cube is an exceptionally producible shape. So if we're doing it specifically to house cores and it's not necessarily intended to be something that's locking important things, then we can make the body out of aluminum and bring the cost way down, and we can produce a bunch of them. And that way people can, outside of the 9 that, oh, wow, gifted subs. I can't even see the chat anymore. Well, thank you very much, Duke. I appreciate that. That's pretty awesome. Now all these people don't have to worry about priming or any of that. That's great, man. Appreciate you. Yeah, where was I? So the cube thing, cube's going to be good. We'll be able to make it look really cool, and we can play around with all kinds of different shackle variations, and the Discord's where you need to be if you want to do that. That's where I was going with that. So please send me your best cube drawings at your leisure, and we've got time, right? So now that we've got this locked in, the focus is going to shift to mechanisms, and we've already got like 9 of them going in the Discord server. I personally have like 5 going. So I think that vote's going to be harder. And I'm trying to figure out the best way to frame this video for next Friday. I think simplest is best. So what you're not going to see is Abloy style disc detainer versus Schlegg pin tumbler versus I don't know, insert company and mechanism here versus each other, because that doesn't work for us. What we need to do is take a look at lock mechanisms from their building blocks and say it's going to be dimples, it's going to be magnets, it's going to be discs, it's going to be wafers, one of the very many different tumblers that exist, and then we can maybe choose some features and stuff, and then from that pool of objects we can then choose, all right, what axis of motion and what type of motion, and get crazy with it, all inside of a cube. Probably going to be named Daniel at the end of this, but we'll we'll see. All right. So yeah, I would offer you the CAD model. This was from my notes. I was going to offer the CAD model of whichever one won. But it's a cube, dude. Like, if you want to model it or draw it, pretty sure you can pull it off. So start with a cube, start adding features, start thinking about how can we add as many facets to this as possible to catch light, to make it pretty, or go the other direction and start thinking through what kind of steel hardens best in a mass like that. My plan going into this was to use 17 Tac 4 so that I could harden it to H900 and land somewhere in like the 44 to 48 Rockwell C class, because it will make a really strong lock. And I still might do that, even though it's a cube. But what I don't know is there one that does better when you have lots of mass? And depending on what side of sort of, if we start making the cube itself move, sort of like the D design or the B design, then that sort of changes the overall mass, and it would break it into sections, and so heat treating changes. But it might be worth case hardening a cube. I don't actually know. I'm gonna have to do some research on that. So plenty more decisions coming down the pipe, but for now, we have done what we needed to accomplish for this stream. There's one more thing that I wanted to do though before we go, and it's to collect ideas. So I have in my mind a couple of different ways that we could operate this contest, and I really would like for people to chime in and offer ideas, and then the next video we'll do a vote on it, because yeah, everybody's version of fair isn't the same. So there are a couple sticking points to a contest like this, because we are offering cash as a reward, and also the people that are contestants are going to get to keep the locks. So not only are you getting a valuable thing, you're also potentially getting money out of it, and therefore the way that you enter into it matters, and the way that you're selected for it matters. So the basic split that I've got in my mind, these are my two ideas, and if you've got other ideas, please drop them in. Drop them in the chat. But first idea is all 9 contestants are selected by first applying, doing a video application with, basically we'll put out a list of questions for people to answer, and you don't have to like actually face the camera. I know most pickers don't do that. It's just hands on a vise, and that's fine. But do a video answering questions and sort of talking about experience level, what kind of locks have you picked, that sort of thing. And then maybe, just a couple of personal, like fun personal questions, not deep personal questions, to get a sense of like what they're like, So that would be the application, right? They would have to submit a video answering the questions and send it in. And that way we can watch those videos as a group or as individuals and then vote on them, right? So 9 people, it could be any 9 people from the pile, all by vote, all purely democratic. One of the pitfalls I see potentially in that is that it will become a popularity contest, and therefore whoever has the most followers would just win. I don't know that any of the people that have successful YouTube channels and a following would even submit. So maybe we're safe there, but it's a consideration that came to mind. The other way is sort of, it hits a couple of different angles for the project and potentially for further iterations of the project, which is we take 3 people the same way, three applications. I call that the dark horse group. It could be anybody, right? Anybody that's willing to apply and film their attempts. So 3 dark horses, and then 3 people that I would pick. I would hand select 3 people and aim for guys and gals that I know could do it. So that if we do go onto the crazy difficult end of things, that we don't just have 9 people fail and then the whole project just fizzles. So 3 dark horses, 3 people that I at least think would guarantee 1 success, and then 3 YouTubers. And the idea there is not to grow my channel, but basically to grow the project as a whole. So if we do iterate again, we do another version of this after the fact, it will have more notoriety, essentially. And maybe more people get involved. More people is more ideas. More ideas is potentially better ideas. So, so yeah, those are sort of my 2 schemes, if you want to call it, is everybody's democratically voted in, or 3 groups of 3. And I'd love to see what you think of that. If you have any thoughts, please throw it in the chat. Either everybody stop typing. Okay, there it goes. It's like everybody stop typing, or my shit's frozen. I like the 3 groups of 3, 3 by 3. Okay. I think it does the most for the project, but if you have any other ideas, that's another thing. You could email me or send me on Discord. I'm open to literally any idea about it. So, Axel, we were talking about the picking contest and how we would choose contestants, right? So it's either 9 that are all just voted in based on application videos, or 3 that are voted in that way, plus 3 people that I choose that I know can do it, and then 3 people that are YouTubers with larger channels to potentially help further iterations of the project. Like say we do a season 2 or whatever. Yeah, Georgia Jim is very likely to get it open. Like I would call him a guarantee. It's just a matter of time with him. Who gets locks? My end is freezing now. 3x3 makes sense. Okay. All right, cool. Well, it seems like at least everybody in here is sort of okay with just going with that idea. So I'll put that forth for a vote in the video. The other thing that I wanted to ask, it's another sticking point just because it's related to money, was how would we disperse the prizes? So is it person with the least amount of time gets all the money in the prize pool, or do we split it up like I don't know, like Fibonacci sequence style, where first place gets the most and then second place gets the middle amount and then third place gets the least amount? What do you guys think about that? Split it up, distribute, Fibonacci, good with whatever. That's fair. Yep. Okay. I think it's more fair, and it does one sort of handy thing, which is it draws out the interest part of the contest section of the final video, right? You can sort of bounce in between pickers, and it's not just, well, this person got it and it's over. It's who's made it through 1 mechanism, who's made it through 2, who's made it through 3, who was the first one to do it. Okay, well now who's going to be second and third? Like it keeps the fun alive for a little bit longer, I think. So cool. Axel, I share that sentiment. I would also like to own one of these. So we'll see about making some more at the end. Maybe they get a special edition of the lock for first, second, and third place. So these locks, the ones that getting sent out to the contestants, they will be special. Like, even if I make more locks after the contest, they will not be exactly the same as the contest locks, because it's not a collector's piece if it's the same as every other one. See, Max 1,000 thinks $1,000 isn't that much to split, so maybe they get a trophy. So there will actually be a trophy too. I haven't shown that around or talked about that yet, but it's actually something that I made, I think 4 or 5 years ago, and Logan from LPU helped fund. And it's the LPU hand. I cast it out of pewter. It's like a 9-pound statue of pewter of my hand. But it holds a pick. You can slide whatever pick in there that doesn't have a handle. So I need to add a base to it. I got to find like a big chunk of nice wood, or I don't know. I don't know what the best base for it would be. Since it is so heavy, I would say probably it needs to at least be weighted if it's not made out of metal. But it's going to be, that alone is going to be expensive to ship. How about I got it open patch for all the original 9 who gets it open? That's a great idea. I'm going to write that down immediately. I got it. Open patch. If I have the time and the wherewithal at the end of this, I might actually make that brass challenge coins instead of patches, just because I think they're neater. Or plague. Cube is a base. Lefty is a good name for the lock. Yeah. Yeah. We'll put in name submissions. When are we doing that? I forget when I had it on the calendar for. Once we're done with the project foundational stuff. So we just did the project name. Now the contest is open for the logo. If you didn't hear that from earlier, design logos and send them in to me, however you can reach me. That closes midnight on Wednesday, the 14th. But I'll take in all the submissions then. We'll do a vote on those, and whatever wins will become a t-shirt and maybe a hat. I don't know, maybe a hoodie. But I'm definitely getting a t-shirt with the logo. So, yep, send those in. The prize for that is Jimmy Long's picks. We got 19th thou intermediate picks and gym hooks. So you get both of those if you got the winning design. And as we already previously covered, you can use AI if you want to, but people might hate it, so watch yourself. And let's see what else we got in the chat. Poker chip. Yeah, poker chips are cool too. Like the challenge coin, something. Funny way of spelling Daniel. Someone explain Daniel. Okay, so this came from before the project started. I've been in and out of voice chat conversations in the Lockpickers United Discord server talking about this project for 2 years. I think I originally came up with it either 2 or 3 years ago. I forget how long it's been, but I planned on doing it 2 years ago, and then life got in the way. Anyway, so I've had lots of conversations about it, and before this thing launched, I was in VC talking to, I think, Granny and Professor Coons and Reefer Sutherland. And I was talking for probably too long, blathering on about the name of the thing, right? Like, we have to name this thing. And out of nowhere, Reefer says, you should name it Daniel. And it just hit me exactly right, and I lost it and started laughing, because the idea that you would take a project and say the blank project or project blank and boil that all the way down to just name it Daniel, it's a special mind that comes up with that. So that's why it's funny, and it's sort of become an inside joke between well, now everybody, but people in the project who've heard that story. It's in one of the videos too. That's how a lot of people know about it. In the US, Georgia Jim is top tier candidate, but in Europe you have Yabende, Rain, Retep, none of whom I could pick as a front runner over the others. Fair, that explanation is as good as any for a name choice. It's an outside joke for the inside. Block, Daniel cubed. Yeah, I think every person that you just named there, Raven, could absolutely do it. And I'll have to think on it. How, if we go with 3x3, I'll really have to consider how I'm going to choose, because I know a lot of monsters in the lockpicking world. So I could very easily find 3 of them that would kill any lock. It doesn't matter how good it is. It's just a matter of time. And that's, I think that ultimately is the lesson that you would find about lockpicking if you stick at it and you watch people, is it has less to do with skill than it does to do with persistence. But that being said, if you are that persistent, you do develop a whole lot of skill. So project name is not the same as lock name, right? Because the lock should be block. Submit names. Yeah, we're going to submit names for the lock later. We're not doing that right now. Persistence and time blocks, side picks too. Yep, side picks is a beast. All right, guys. Well, that's all the stuff I wanted to cover, and I'm not going to hang out and just like talk about nothing for hours and hours. So I really appreciate you showing up. Thank you for being here to vote, and thank you for all the primes. And Duke, thanks for tier 1 and a bunch of people. It's really great. I think we just paid for like a handful of end mills in what, an hour and 40 minutes, and that's great. So yeah, you're welcome, Raven. Yeah. All right, well, catch you guys later. I'm gonna shut it down.